Welcome back to another episode of Sailing Sitka.
On this week's episode,
Hello again, and we're happy you're back. If you're new here, well, thanks for popping in. We hope you stay a while. Last week, we left our sweet Sitka at anchor for 5 days while we took a very memorable road trip inland. If you don't know what we're talking about, check out our last week's episode and you won't be disappointed. Well, hopefully. We are now back in La Cruz, back to our floating home and back to the wonders of boat life. Which means boat work, of course. That's right. Something else is broken, but at this point, who's even surprised?
all right, so we're back on the boat, and now we're gonna address that starter battery issue. So first things first, we're gonna have to take this whole ladder off here because the starter battery's under here, and then I'm gonna volt test it with a voltmeter. And then see what it's at, and then we're gonna try to start the engine over and see if it drops, and then we're gonna unplug it and test it. But I'm pretty sure this is all a test to just confirm that that's the issue, but I'm pretty sure that's the problem. I mean, the battery is 7 years old, so that's a really good stint for a starter battery. So anyways, we're gonna do that, and then if that's the issue, we're gonna take it off and we're gonna go in town and spend the last of our money on a battery. Understood. Yeah, 11, it's completely dead. So yeah, no wonder we're not starting. That is why. So I don't even need to do another test. What I'm wondering though is why, actually what I want to do right now while I have this on is we're gonna turn the engine on. And I know the engine won't start with a starter, so we'll combine the batteries, which is not the best, but I just want to make sure the alternator is charging the battery. So we should see the number jump from 11 to like 13 or whatever it's charging at. And then that will indicate that the alternator is still charging the starter battery, but the starter battery cannot hold a charge, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna have to combine them to both. So that's for emergency start. So don't turn it on until I tell you, my love. So normally, this is where it's at, and then we combine them for emergency start. So now it's both are connected, and then I'm gonna try to have this holding here. So now you can see the number. I'm gonna hold this on here. So now you can see it's, oh, now it says 13. Oh, it's because now you see now I combined the batteries. So this is it's now 13 because it's combined with both. But yeah, flash it up now. Okay. And then give it some gas. So you see how now it's going up. So it's charging through the alternator. What's the RPM, hon? So you see now we're getting 14. So the alternator is charging, so that's good. So we'll just leave that charge. Now we know that the starter battery is definitely the issue. So it's not keeping a charge. So clearly we can see that when the engine is on, it's getting charging through the alternator because now we're at 14.24 volts, but the battery is unable to maintain a charge, which is typical. I mean, this battery is 7 years old, like I say. They say in average it should last 3 to 5 years. So it did last longer than expected. So this is not like some holy shit, like how did this happen situation, more of a regular maintenance item. So yeah, all right, so that's the issue. So we're gonna leave the batteries charge a bit, and then that's it.
All right, so now we're off to go try to find a new starter battery. We're gonna try the local marine store that they have here, but prices seem to be quite extreme there. So if they are insanity, we're gonna have to go to Bucerias,
To an
AutoZone to find one there, but we're hoping, fingers crossed, that's not the case. But yeah, that's what we're doing.
Are these starter batteries?
That's a deep cycle battery.
Do you have starter ones?
No, not right now.
No starter batteries?
No.
Do you know somewhere that would have some here?
There is one place by the
Boatyard?
traffic light, to the right, one block. Maybe they have batteries for cars. Those ones are starting batteries.
What's the name of the place?
I don't know the name of the place. It's next to the vet.
Next to what, sorry?
To the vet.
The vet.
Oh, the vet?
The vet. Oh, I know what the vet is.
Okay.
Yep.
Gracias.
Okay, gracias. All right, let's go next to the vet office. Let's hope second time's a charm, huh?
¿Cuánto cuesta el battery? ¿El starting battery?
¿Cómo?
Starting battery?
Sí, a ver. ¿Cuál sería? ¿Esta?
Yes. Okay, that's like actually crazy. That's literally 3 times the price of a starting battery back home. Like that makes no sense. No?
¿Baterías?
Yeah, sí.
No,
No.
no tengo.
Okay, gracias.
De nada.
All right, so this is actually becoming a lot more difficult than we thought. We tried all 3 locations that we know of here in La Cruz, and none of which had exactly what we needed. So now we are going to attempt to go to Bucerias, the AutoZone?
Yeah, AutoZone at the end of Bucerias.
Yeah, to see if they have it, but if not, then we're gonna have to dip all the way to Puerto Vallarta, which is even further.
And then there's a boat store that I would doubt wouldn't have it because it's massive.
Yeah,
But the
there's a
prices there are
huge
insane.
marine store in PV, so that's our final
But we're gonna
last
start by
chance.
AutoZone. I know from looking at the websites, the AutoZone in the United States carries marine starter batteries. I don't know if that's the case in Mexico, but yeah, we'll try to get that. In the meantime, this guy will give us energy. Cocorico. But look at him, look at him, look at him, look at him.
The cruising lifestyle is everything you can ever dream of, 90% of the time. The other 10% that's left out, or others seem to be oblivious to, is the absolute hard work and inconvenience this way of life can be. You need something? It is not as simple as hopping in your car and driving to the store. Depending on where you are in the world, some countries are harder than others to get parts, and, well, Mexico specifically has been tougher than we imagined. Oh, we hit the mother load.
Let's see. 12.76. So yeah, it's the strongest one. So that's good. And it's got 800 cranking amps, so. All right. We got it. Mission 50% over. All right, so we got our battery here. We had it in a bag of plastic, so no salt water to touch it. Now I'm just gonna, before putting it in, I'm just gonna install the step down marine grade epoxy coated blah blah blah. I'm also gonna add some Tef gel just to be extra safe. It's kind of nice that they're color coded. Space Cadet proof. These were actually not super expensive. It was $7 Canadian.
Yeah, that was nice.
See, this is a kind of cool design. So they made this square with a stopper here, so you don't need two tools to tighten it. And it's good because that way I don't have to, I can be lazy and not get my whole wrench set out. So yeah, what's important when you buy a starter battery is the CCA number, so cold cranking amps. So for a 4-stroke diesel engine, 800 is what's recommended. You could get away with 600 in this warm temperature, but if we were to be back in Canada or anywhere that it's cold, 800 is better. The higher the number, the better. And then there's other considerations to your capacity, your reserve capacity. This is 115 minutes. It would have been nice to get 120, but this is as good as it gets. Tev gel is quite pricey, but like, look at, film the jar there, huh? I've been using this for like 2 years. So it's like $80 for that little jar, but it lasts quite a long time because you only need to put, you know, a little bit.
Sorry for the bad filming. It's so rolly.
Yeah, this anchorage is like being at sea. So everything on a battery, you want it super tight. No movement at all. One thing you don't want to do too when you have a metal tool on a battery is connect both of these together, because you'll get electrocuted, especially with a metal tool. So just keep that in mind. All right.
There we go.
That's good. You should be able to lift it from there, so that's good. What I'm not a fan is those studs are 2 different sizes, but maybe that's how they normally are. Pretty sure online they're all the same size, so that's not the ideal situation, as you don't want play, but sometimes when you're not, you know, that's all we have, you know. There's the best we can do right now. You want your ring terminals to be just the same exact size as your studs. Like, you don't want them to have play in it. But like I said, it's the best we can do. So let's turn this to off for now. Okay.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah. Not to insult anybody's intelligence, but if this negative was to touch any of these red wires when I undo them, we would have a short, which would create an arc and potentially a fire and cause damage. So it takes 2 seconds to just be a little extra safe. Also, another thing I do, like, this is pretty easy there's not that many things, but when I unplug anything, I tend to take a picture first. So that way, if I forget where things go. And when you put electrical wires on a stud, you should always put the one closest to the battery. So the first one down should be the one that requires the most amperage. So the bigger, technically, the bigger the wire, the closest to the battery it should be, and the smaller the wire, the furthest from the battery it should be. And you shouldn't put more than 4 to 5 things on a stud, or else it becomes kind of dangerous, and you should have a buzz bar.
There she is. Look at the differences.
Federal battery. Doesn't even say how many cranking hours. Oh, I think it says 31 1000. So yeah, you can tell it's done. Way done, those. All right, so this one will go
out with the old and with the new.
Yeah, the only thing is, I think I'm gonna put them the opposite side, because it has to go like that. So yeah, I should have looked at that first. I'm gonna put the studs facing that way. No, it's safer to not have wing nuts. So if you can avoid it, especially on the positive side.
Do you want to show them what you mean here?
Yeah, so you see how there's play in here? Like, you don't want that. You'd want this either to have a bigger stud or a smaller ring terminal on the end of this wire. Because you want full contact, because you're going to have lower contact. So I'm going to put a washer on here to help with contact. I'm just going to put that there for now. So 13.16. Okay, so that means it's charging through the solar. Here's the keys. I'm gonna open the through hole. Don't start it until I tell you to hold up. Alright, so now as we can see, we're just in 1, so normal. So the engine master's on. So let's see what happens here. Okay, hon, start it. So you see how it dropped down to 12, so the starter battery worked. That's perfect. Okay, hon, put it up to 1500 RPM. And you see now it's going to 1439, so that's good. That means it's charging. And we confirmed that right now they're getting charged through the solar, and before we started the engine, because it was at 13 something, so it was getting charging through the solar, so that's good. And now we've confirmed that it charges through the alternator as well, because it went to 14. So hopefully this battery lasts as long as the other one. I doubt it, but let's touch wood. If it lasts 7 years, that'd be amazing. But if we get 5 years out of it, that'd be also very good. So, and just so you guys know, this battery ended up costing, this new battery, and it's not a marine one, ended up costing 3,500 pesos with the studs, which were only 100 pesos. So that's 140 to like $250 Canadian. So a little bit more than we thought it was going to cost us, but you know, when you're in Mexico, you gotta pay what you have to pay. I guess there's not a lot of options. Basically, we went to 6 places, and it's really hard to get stuff here. You would think with the amount of boats here that there'd be tons of boat stuff, but there isn't. We went to 2 boat stores, none of them had marine starting batteries. And then we went to auto parts, and they put in the number that I had, and it was 1,200 pesos for a marine one. But there's no store in the country that had them. And like when I asked them how long it would take, he just gave me the look of stare of death. So I was like, yeah, forget about it. We kind of need that. It's kind of a priority to have a battery that can start your engine on a boat. So the one thing that I need to do though is like this stud, like see, they're so cheap, like it bended on itself, like so. It's kind of loose right now. It would be able to pop off with a lot of vibrations, and it's a smaller stud. So what I'm gonna do is like probably tomorrow we'll take the bus to Bucerias again, and we'll go get these guys, unless I can find them in town, and we'll get another pack, so $7, and we'll use the positive one on the negative, which will have a 3/8 stud instead of a 5/16, and then we'll be perfectamundo. So yeah, just so that we're safe, and then we can do groceries too at the same time tomorrow, because we won't be carrying a heavy ass battery. Yeah!
I wanted you to say great success in Borat voice.
Very nice, great success. I like. How much? 3,500 pesos for you, sir. Si, senor. There we go. Very nice. What?
Are you bloody kidding me right now? Sometimes when all seems lost and you feel defeated or discouraged, life always has a magical way of reminding you what there is to be grateful for. Oh my God! Holy shit!
All right, good morning everyone. I'm just gonna take the ladder off and check the voltage on the starter battery to make sure that it stayed around 12.6 to 12.7. So let's do that now. So I'm just gonna remove this ladder. What do we have? 12.74, 12.73. So that's perfect. So that is perfect. So that's good news. So now we have a functioning starter battery. And everything I do when I get new pieces of gear on board is I make a master list, but I also add it to my notebook. And usually on my engine hours, I write everything. And for example, yesterday, February 28th, 2023, ran for the engine for an hour. So now engine hours at 627.30. It was for a maintenance reason, and we installed a new starter battery. So that's there. And then I also add it sometimes on a random page where I keep notes, or like right here. That way, when the battery goes kaput, I can see, oh, it's only been a year and a half or 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, and then, you know, either I can choose a better product if it didn't last long, or I figure out the reason why it didn't last long. Anyways, I'm gonna let you guys go because it's very early, and Kenna's gonna kill me if I keep talking on the camera because she's still sleeping. All right, bye. Gonna replace this stud that looks like shit with the other red one on here. So I mean, it's a pain that you have to buy 2 sets, but they only have them in 3/8 and 5/16, and we only need the 3/8. So let's get her done. There you go. I used a bit of Sharpie to paint the top black. I mean, if you mistake that, it's pretty easy. There's a huge plus here and a huge minus there, so it's pretty much coconut proof, but now I made it triple coconut proof. So let's undo this temporary fix, and you see how it bent here inward, so I'm gonna torque it a little less, put a little less of the wah-wah-wee-wah in there. All right, well, we're in a no better position as these freaking things are too big. So look at this, this is the red one. So we wasted 2 hours and $7. So welcome to trying to do boat work. Sometimes in Mexico it can be quite frustrating. So we're gonna have to go back and put this one, at least this one's not crushed, so we'll make it tight. But yeah, anyways, it's not the ideal, but it's better than what it was. It would have been better if we got a 3/8 stud, but I guess we're gonna have to wait till we're somewhere different. I mean, for now it's good. I'm also not a fan of wing nuts for battery applications, but I put a bit of a red thread locker on the thread. So wing nuts have a tendency when things vibrate, like so when the engine's running, to like kind of loosen up because they're meant to be hand tight. I did cork them or tighten them a bit with a wrench, so should be good with Loctite. I mean, sometimes you gotta do the best you gotta do with the best you can do with what you have, and that's right now. We'll call that a win for now. And yeah, enough of that project. I'm sure you guys are over watching me deal with just a starter battery. So peace out, A-Town.
If you're a cruiser, then you know the levels of hardships this lifestyle can throw at you. But then again, you know that no matter what breaks or fails, it's worth it in every way possible. If you aren't a cruiser, but you're thinking of diving into the deep end and just going for it, well, I say do it. As someone who didn't have a clue of how this way of life worked and made a decision to jump headfirst into it, I can say right now it was the best decision I've ever made in my entire life. Stay tuned next week for another episode of Sailing Sitka.
Thank you to all our viewers, and a special thank you to our patrons who make this lifestyle a reality.